Hi there, this is Home Wizards, where we love to help improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole.
Hey, I'm Eric Stroman.
And it's summertime, and that means that we want our gardens to be lush and to be perfect.
Well, and we don't necessarily want to be watering a crazy amount of water either in this time of some water shortage and
So
drought.
that means the right plant selections. That means the right kind of design. And, you see all the magazine pictures. You see them on TV, and you hear about it on the show, and you go, wait, I'm not getting it. I'm a little nervous.
I covet, and I wish I could have something better.
And maybe you don't even have a full garden. You just have a little corner. But that's okay. Don't be nervous.
Don't be afraid, little fella, little guy.
We have a couple of people here to help us feel more confident when it comes to the outdoor spaces. Chris Tuck and Amy Rydell from Rydell High. Hi, guys. No, from Amy Rydell Landscape Design. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Good friends of Eric Stromer's, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
For a number of years now.
Yeah, and so let me tell you.
Wait, listen to that voice of
Isn't
hers.
that good?
Wait, can you say hi again?
Hi.
Wow.
Oh, hey.
Wow. That's a
pretty good.
really sexy voice. She's a sexy landscape
She really
girl.
is. She sure is. And let me tell you about these folks. So the school that we all go to, that's where I met these two. And pretty soon the school started looking amazing. And I was
where
like,
the kids go
Yeah,
to.
what's happening? Why is this school transformed? And then I've heard that they were doing all the landscape design.
Magical things
And then
like
pretty
that.
soon all the neighbors, their houses look better. And then it's just basically the entire city is transformed by them like wildfire.
So
Very
tell us,
talented.
I mean, you have a vision when you look at plants, right? When you're whether you're at a nursery or you're in a big box store or you're looking at an arboretum or a botanical garden. I mean, when you see these plants, what do they say to you? What speaks to you when you see beautiful colors and designs and living things?
Well, when I'm looking for a palette for a garden, I'm looking for a lot of different textures, different colors, and different leaf shapes, and different shades of green. I think that's really what makes an interesting space.
So it isn't necessarily
variation.
It isn't necessarily all about the flowers. I mean, the shades of green, the variegated leaves are so beautiful, right?
Yes, a lot of foliage, different foliage really makes a difference, I think, and makes a spectacular garden.
How about you, Chris? When you see beautiful botanical gardens, I mean, what makes you go, wow, that was like to die for?
I'm partial to Japanese gardens myself. I mean, that's my love, but our work is great.
Oh, if you do say so. Okay.
It's,
I mean, in terms of a style, I mean, when you think that Japanese gardens are
that's my
tranquility for you.
Totally.
And Eric and I-
and you've done some bonsai stuff, right? How do you say it?
Bonsai.
Bonsai. Yeah, you've done some of that. I've seen that.
Yeah, I've got 21 bonsai at the house now.
Really?
Yeah.
It's really
in
beautiful.
your yard, in the backyard, in the house, everywhere.
Outside.
That's really quite a talent.
And these are the kind of people where you go to their home and then you say, wow, it looks like a botanical garden here, because they transformed an entire hillside that was once barren and terrible and turned it into this amazing property.
Well,
So
that's a huge
Thanks.
thing.
beautiful stuff.
We're going to want to hear about that because a
Yeah.
lot of us, including our home, you have a hill, and it becomes overwhelming because you think, how am I going to deal with this big slope? But so you have different views on beauty, but it's similar. Eric and I love succulents a lot.
Oh,
Are you
yes.
big on native plantings and the textures of succulents?
I use a lot of succulents now. There's been a big push in a lot of the nurseries, and also the big box stores, to put in a bigger variety of succulents,
Yeah.
not just your standard cactus. And
Yeah, because
that
that's
we're used to.
boring. I mean, there's so many great colors and
Great colors, and they're great for drought tolerance and water retention, and there's so many different flowers that people don't think about that come with succulents. So
Totally.
they do bloom, and people aren't aware of that. So
And the foliage, I especially love the soft, fleshy type of succulent, don't you? I mean,
Yeah.
it almost seems like an ocean sea creature.
Do you want to know what
kind.
happens when I see it? I get nuts inside. I kind of go crazy. I
You
just,
want it. You
I
love
do.
it.
I love the
I
look of them.
know.
And to your point, Amy, I never realized that there was such a variety
There is a
coming
great
from the
variety.
Midwest.
Right.
I had no idea. It was sort of like, hey, there's pine trees and some maple, and that's basically it. But the variety and the beautiful flowers, and to your point again, the way it can kind of hold and retain water, especially on hillsides and berms and stuff like that. It's amazing.
So as all of us are thinking about doing beautiful things to our outdoor spaces, for starters, because we can bring plants inside too, but let's think for our outside, and you go to a store, what should we be thinking about? What do you guys advise us to feel a little more empowered? Because it's intimidating seeing all these beautiful succulents and trees, and the labels aren't going to necessarily be accurate.
correct.
Or where they're where they're positioned isn't necessarily where they belong.
Right.
When you take them home.
I say you would try and stick with perennials as much as possible, and limit your annual planting. because people get very excited about the annual color, and so they'll pack in a lot of annual color, and then it only lasts for a short period. So that's somewhat frustrating. So there's a lot of perennial color, and I would try and stick towards the perennial plantings and minimize the annual plantings, and just do that as a little dressing on the sides, and just to fancy things up a little bit.
Yeah, it seems like a common first-time mistake is that people will go out and buy the wrong kind of flowers and plants, and then, like you said, you see this great pop of color, and then the rest of the year it just looks awful.
And then we get discouraged and you give up.
Very frustrating.
Right, So Chris...
Yeah, I think people just think too big.
Right.
If they do a tiny little corner of the yard and watch it grow for a few months and go, okay, that really worked, now let's go for the...
Baby steps.
Baby steps. Do a little trial run and get your feet wet and really think about how things work in the garden. Some people plant things that are going to get way too big in the front, and you want to layer that and think small.
Yeah, I don't think people ever realize that height makes a huge difference. The tall stuff goes in back.
Or that plants are going to grow. We forget, almost like kids, that the kids are going to go to college someday. These plants are going to get huge, right?
Yeah. It's very deceiving. You can go to these big box stores, and there's a 1 gallon plant, looks really nice and small, and put it in, and in 2 months it could be 4 feet wide. So it's good to do a little research prior to going to the store and get a good sense of what grows well in your area, and then do less is more, because you can always minimize. When things get too overgrown, it's very hard to clear it out and make it manageable once again.
And we're always constantly going to the Arboretum or
Descanso
Gardens, Huntington
garden shows,
Gardens, all of them, just to see what full-size trees and plants are. And they're all labeled, and that's a really good resource to have.
It gives you ideas too how they all kind of go together.
Yep.
Could you give us maybe a list of 5 plants that you're loving right now, because they always are introducing new ones? Right? New hybrids. Are there 5 or so that you think are really great for the beginning gardener to feel like, less overwhelmed and have a successful experience?
Well, I think all the succulents, as you mentioned, the echeverias and the sedum, do really well for ground cover and stay low and are easy to maintain. And as well, you can take the small pups or little babies that shoot off and cut them off, let them dry up a little bit, the end dry up for a couple of days, and then replant it in another area. So you can
share.
maximize.
Wait. What's that
pup.
technique? I don't understand. You let what
well,
dry?
as the echeveria grows, it grows another little pup,
offshoot.
A little offshoot. So if you cut that off and let it kind of scab over for a couple of days, the end of the stem, and then you just stick that right in the soil.
And that's what I did for Eric, because I think it's fun to share plants, and I had a bunch of succulents that he was coveting, so I brought him some, and now you have them in your yard.
It was like Thanksgiving.
It's fun.
You show up with a succulent. It's beautiful.
Why not?
What's
but,
the difference between,
it's fun to propagate plants, right?
It's great. And so then those are really lovely to move around the yard.
Echeveria, sedum, and what else?
Sedum. I like euphorbias right now. They are a native. But
is that like the sticks on fire?
No, but that's another good succulent. But this is not a succulent, euphorbia.
Okay.
It's another great plant. And I think there's some great Pennisedum. Fireworks is a
use
grass.
regular names, not the botanical names.
Okay. So it's a grass.
Okay.
It's called fireworks.
Fireworks is grass. Okay, great.
It's a variegated red grass. So that's really lovely. And it doesn't get very big.
So Echeveria, sedum, euphorbia, fireworks grass, and the 5th one is... Maybe sticks on fire.
Sticks on fire.
Tulips.
Sunset gold.
Oh yeah, Coleonemus, a sunset gold.
Sunset gold. Yeah.
Breath of heaven, sunset gold.
Yeah, those names are easier to remember, I think, than the botanical science frou-frou names.
Frou-frou.
Well, when we come back, we're going to take a quick break. I want you to help us with hillside plantings.
Yeah.
Don't you think you've seen that a lot as a contractor?
Makes a huge difference.
Not only are you going to keep the drainage intact, but it's you want to make it more attractive, not just ivy. We have basically ivy. Welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards, where we love to put a smile on your face. That's what we do. Eric Stromer.
You know what else
Cindy
we do?
Dole.
You know what else we do? We say fun and friendly things to people.
We do. We give you ideas about the place you call home.
That's what we try and do.
make hopefully your life better, and that's what it is here, Home Wizards. And so, Summertime, anytime. We are so lucky to enjoy the outdoors and bring it to where you live.
Yeah.
What's so funny about that?
No,
You're just laughing.
That's right.
You're laughing. You're filled with.
I'm filled with
love.
I'm with glee. Yeah.
Now I feel a number coming on.
Hey!
Anyway, so we have a couple of great landscape designers here with us, Chris Tuck and his wife Amy Rydell with Amy Rydell Landscape Design. And so Chris and Amy, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you.
Let's talk about hillsides before we get into some other great specifics to help us through the summer in our garden. We have a hill, and we've never been able to do anything with it. Yes, there's erosion. Yes, there's boring. Like there's a couple of really boring trees and some ivy. But the trick is it's so steep, it's above us. It's like about 50 feet up, and our driveway kind of comes and greets us with this hill that doesn't look like much. There is a retaining wall, but then you have this very clay, heavy soil, and it looks like we need to do maybe some terracing or something. So walk us through, if someone were to have a hillside problem like that, what would you say are some things?
And wait, before you go on, and there's also like one sprinkler head that's going and just spraying.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just sort of out errantly into the air. It doesn't
onto
really,
the sidewalk.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway.
It's not focused or anything.
To me, that's the first issue you need to address is do you want to access the top of the hill at any point?
Sure.
Do you want a path? Do you want steps? Or do
I
you
think
just
that we
want to retain the existing
A
material?
little of both, because I love it all. I like
Right.
to shop, and I like to have chocolate.
Right. So do
And I love jewelry and shoes, but I mean,
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that, yes, we'd want to be able to access it only from a gardener perspective. I don't see that as like, hey, we're going to have a patio up there. Only to like maybe once a year for maintenance to be able to have access. But other than that, it's retaining, keeping it safe, and making it a pretty welcoming hill.
Right. The biggest thing is minor terracing would help slow your main problem is water erosion, and plants not living on the hill and digging in roots and retaining the dirt.
Oh, no, we have deer too, by the way.
Deer, great.
petting zoo. It's like
I
a
want
mudslide
llamas.
and a petting zoo.
I want llamas. I
Yeah.
keep asking for
I know.
that. But
You and
we-
Michael Jackson.
Proper irrigation, in my opinion, is the biggest cure for erosion on hillsides.
So how do you do that when you have a hillside situation?
And you can't get up
And
there.
the old way of doing it was just to have a pipe shooting water out
Spraying
and
water.
spraying a sprinkler across the field.
And the problem with
essentially.
that is you can only run it for maybe 2 minutes at a time, because then it starts to flood because it's so compacted, clay. There's probably bedrock exposed. The new way is to use dripper line, and you zigzag it back and forth, and every 12 or 18 or 24 inches there's an emitter, and you just zigzag it back and forth and staple it into the ground. It can be underground, it can be overground, and there's zero erosion. It goes right into the plants.
And zero water waste.
Zero water waste.
And it's called what again?
Dripper line.
And is it expensive?
It's more expensive to install than conventional irrigation, but you make it up because you don't ever have to redo it.
And is it
it's
on a
guaranteed
timer?
for
I mean,
15 years.
Really, 15 years?
15 years.
Do you
It's on
have
a
to
timer.
do you have to access it to maintain it, to change? I mean, is it battery operated?
The
or
only
how's
thing
it-
you can't do is throw a shovel in the ground, because you'll cut it. But if you do cut it, you just take a coupler, and any homeowner could piece it back together. It's very simple stuff.
And it comes right off a traditional sprinkler head, but you screw in the end, and then that feeds these tubes that go above ground and below ground.
You sound like you know what you're talking about.
Well, I saw him installing it, and I was like, what is this?
And
this
you
is
love
what
it.
was so exciting to me,
Yeah.
because it's zero. You know, I spend my whole life waking up to my sprinklers blowing mist into the air, right? And I'm going, this is such a complete waste of money, right? And then Chris shows up, and he tells me about these other systems that are available, and I was just like, wow.
I love it.
It's zero waste.
Yeah,
and
zero
then-
waste.
And
yeah.
so on my hillside, that would be the first thing you would do, is install that before you even think about planting,
Before I think about anything. Yeah.
before even terracing.
No, you terrace
You
it
terrace
first. You
it
do all the
first.
hardscape work first, and then
And you put that in.
move the pipes around to wherever you need the inlet to be for the dripper line, and then you just start weaving it back and forth and stapling it down.
But isn't it kind of hard for water to travel upward? I mean, is it difficult to have an equal balance of distribution, of flow? Because if you're trying to, go up the hill.
If the water source is downhill, yeah.
Yeah.
But this stuff only works on 40 psi. So you put a regulator on it, and you use a filter, and if you have 3/4 inch pipe, it'll make it up the hill, no problem. I mean, and you're just using
We could have a ski
way
lift,
less
maybe.
water.
A ski
Yeah, a little chair lift.
I mean, there's a formula to figure out head height, head pressure, volume, all that
This
stuff.
is kind of getting a little more complicated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but-
this stuff
but
is.
you know, I wanted to bring these guys in here because I wanted people to be aware of this new idea on
Great
watering,
solution.
how to get access to this and understand how much it's going to save you in terms of your amount of water that you're using. So it'll make up, I think, for the cost in the long run.
And the other thing that it really is great for is a lot of people put in thousands and thousands of dollars worth of plants, and conventional spray heads are really tough. I mean, we've had a really hard time. You plant thick and full, and things grow up, and now you're trying to shoot through the plant or get over the plant, and now you've got an ugly riser sticking up, and then you try and drop it back down and use a different head. You're constantly battling head problems.
And you're having to keep replacing the plants, and so you're wasting money that way.
Yeah, the middle of a planting area never gets any water once everything gets big. With this stuff, you can plant as thick as you want, and it's
Because you're always watering from the base.
Great.
So
Yeah.
plant height never affects the irrigation.
So now we'd have not only the terracing and the solution for this system. And by the way, how do you turn it on? Is it
through a valve, through a timer.
Like
the
that-
same valve that you're using now, we would tie into that same valve.
a
And
little switch or something? Or
on an automatic timer.
great,
Yeah,
done.
Same
Yep.
thing. I mean,
Don't even have to deal with it.
seriously, you're it's overwhelming.
So what are you doing next weekend?
Coming to your place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us, Chris, the plants that you would suggest for a hillside that would look beautiful and that wouldn't require a lot of water.
Well, it all depends on what, where we're talking about, and what, Bel Air is very different than Northridge, for instance. But a lot of the good
Or
hillside-
Fresno.
Or Fresno, for instance. Ceonothus is a great hillside plant.
Oh, we know what that is. That's right there at the Hollywood sign.
Yes. Ceonothus. There's a lot of good boganvailla that is a ground cover variety. I like a lot of the ice plant varieties for very bad soil. And there is some sedum that's called blue chalk plant that is a great ground cover for hillsides as well. And it has a great silvery color if you're doing a kind of a mid-century modern feeling. That has a great look.
Isn't that cool? And what I love about the landscape designers out there that are really talented and artistic, you're always honoring the architecture that's around instead of just imposing this design that is yours. You're kind of incorporating what you already have and blending all. That's, I think we've talked about that with designers for interiors and exteriors, but also the same holds true with landscape designers and architects. It's just a whole nother level.
It becomes a marriage, right? It
Right.
just kind of is simpatico. You
Yes.
don't want there to be conflict.
You have to honor what's there. You can't just start putting your own flavor onto it. You
Otherwise,
have
the
to-
relationship just won't work.
No, it won't.
Those plants are going to say, you know what?
I told you
I don't belong here.
I told you
don't
shouldn't
belong
marry
here.
that boy from the south.
Tell you, this sedum is going down the street,
Yeah, Amy really likes to look at the interior of a home prior to us even looking at the exterior. Just walking.
You mean
through
you're going
the
to come
house.
in and see our laundry and all that?
No, but just
Oh, yeah.
with clients, just
Our
to
closets?
see what their feeling is interior.
That's nice.
And,
And
we're usually
also-
the last ones on
yeah.
the job. So
And also to look from the inside out,
Aha.
because that's really where people spend
Most of our time.
inside. So.
Well, I think we have more to talk about with you. Can you stick around and let us another segment?
Yeah, segment takers.
When we come
Yes.
back, how about if you talk about some other things that we should be thinking about? I love that concept of not only being outside and looking to your house, but being inside and looking at, because we want to feel like it's kind of both ways, right?
Absolutely.
The living room is not only outside, but we want to bring the
you
outside
want to
in.
incorporate the
And then what about
inside
the
out
outside
now.
rooms now that we've got
I
going
know.
on? I mean, it goes on and on. And
I know.
Landscape has never been more important,
I
in
know.
my opinion.
Well, it's one of the number one redos in terms of getting a return on the value of your home,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely. For driving by, going, it. Wait a minute, that house is for sale versus, ooh, drive away.
Exactly. You're not going to get them to come in unless it looks enticing.
right.
Anyway, we're going to talk with our friends Chris Tuck and Amy Rydell. Another segment coming up next. Maybe you too are thinking about how do you look at your garden differently and all of a sudden be a genius in terms of having the proper plant choices and make it look beautiful from every side.
Yep.
Every angle.
Let's do it.
That's next. Home Wizards, Eric Stromer, Cindy Dole here. We love to help improve your home and improve your life. We're back in a moment.
In the city, in the summer, tell me, can you feel it? Tell me, can you feel it? The heat is on. Yeah!
And welcome back. You're listening to Home Wizards, where we improve your home and improve your life. I'm Cindy Dole.
I'm Eric Stromer.
Having fun talking about landscaping?
I love,
I
love this. This to me is the most exciting thing because frankly, I've been doing the general contracting for so many years. But I'm just getting now into the whole gardening thing, and I think I have a future.
I'm a passionate gardener, and I have been ever since my dad would do weeding in the backyard, and I would go out there with him, and he would work a lot with succulents. His favorite was agave, and he would say that he would take the pups or the little offshoots and then ram it and jam it.
That's
was
awesome.
his determined. That's how you just literally put it in the soil,
right.
and all of a sudden you've got this genius of a garden. It just keeps multiplying.
Yeah, and I know when you gave me those little pups, I was like, why are you giving me the contents of your lawnmower
Succulents?
bag?
Yeah.
I didn't
Oh.
realize that you could actually do that.
Yeah, and so they're happy and they're doing their
They're
thing.
doing great.
So let's talk with a couple of folks who'd love to do all this. Chris Tuck and Amy Rydell with Amy Rydell Landscape Design. You brought up a great point in terms of looking from the not both different ways. You want to be outside the house and look in. Well, isn't that pretty? But I love being inside looking out. Help us understand
Very important. I love to go inside the person's house, mostly to see their things. No,
and take our stuff.
just to get
You're a spy.
I want to get a sense of their personal style, colors they're interested in.
Like you
or
look at our wardrobe and what we wear. and
Well, a
things.
little bit, but like furniture and if there's a lot of orange around, I can see they like orange, things like that. And then I see where they spend the majority of their time. So I look in the kitchen, and I look in the living room or the TV dining den, I guess it would be called. And I look at what they're looking out the window at, and what is the visual. It's like a picture frame. So that really helps me to design the yard and to get a sense of what the space is and what their needs are.
Because you want to enhance our viewing experience from the inside, right? Because
Exactly.
we're spending all that time. Instead of looking at the TV, you could be looking at this beautiful garden, right?
Exactly. And it needs to be framed well and not block anything, but create some shade if you need it, or open up the space, and depends. Mm-hmm. But it's good to be inside the house and look out.
So it should look like a painting, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then your windows sort of become the frame to your world.
I love
obviously.
that.
Yeah, it's such a great idea. I never thought of
A
that.
frame to the world.
A frame to the world.
And then we also want to be on the outside looking back in as it relates to not so much the view, but how it relates to the house and all kind of connects, right?
And connects and makes the house feel protected, but not covered. I think that's important. And to bring some color up to the house and see what needs are in terms of keeping things away from the house. Sometimes stuff is too close, tree-wise, clearing up some space, creating some more sun if people want a vegetable garden. So just being able to frame out from the outside and create needs.
And you guys are doing a lot more vegetable gardens now for homeowners than ever before, correct? It seems like this is a new trend in landscape design.
A lot.
A lot in the front yards, too.
Right.
Yeah, because it's all about making the edibles gorgeous, edible estates, right?
Yes.
It isn't just corn stalks. It's beautiful, and it isn't just straight rows, but it's kind of commingling the flowers and other companion plants, right, with
Yeah.
edibles?
Bordering the vegetable garden
Yeah.
with a lot of perennial planting. And, people are building some beautiful raised beds now, and really fixing up the front yard by taking it over with edible planting. So I really like that movement.
So go ahead.
We did it at our own house. We ripped out every plant in the front yard and put an orchard in the front yard. We got tired of grass, and we've been doing a lot of removal of grass and going with decomposed granite and gravel and different
Even artificial turf. some
Artificial
folks.
turf.
Yeah.
We did a putting green in a front yard with a vegetable garden and hid the putting green. I mean, it really, people are aware of water use.
And I have a big lawn, and I'm constantly thinking to myself, why? There's like 3 days a year where I'm like, go out for a pass, son. I'm going to throw you the ball now on our lawn. And then the rest of the time, sprinklers are like, the neighbors will drive by and go, do you know that your sprinkler is just shooting water into the street? I think your kid may have kicked the sprinkler. It's that constant battle, right? And it doesn't, the climate that I live in is basically a desert or Mars. Like no one should inhabit this place, but we all have created this idea that we have to have these lawns everywhere, and I just disagree, and I think that the time is now to do exactly what you guys are thinking about. So, will you make me an orchard?
Sure.
Easy.
And I love how it can be so pretty. I mean, it really is when you see homes and examples, and there's many books out there. In fact, there's a great book called Edible Estates. Maybe you're familiar with that one, and
Yes.
others when you go online, and it just all of a sudden inspires you. You go, wow, that's beautiful, But so talk about the palette, color palette, whether it's an edible or a non-edible. What are some of the ones that you think we should be thinking of, your favorites? Like, is it blue and yellow? Is it all white?
Well, I
garden?
always like the opposing colors on the color wheel. Those are always good. But for now, I'm really loving a burgundy next to lime.
That's-
That combination
that
with
pops.
a variegated plant next to it. I think that really is a great combination.
Like almost a chartreuse
Yes,
against a burgundy. Ooh.
good combination.
And you could do that with succulents, couldn't you?
Absolutely. There's a lot of burgundy succulents. that are
By the way,
coming on
it's
market.
no coincidence that I'm wearing burgundy trousers and a lime shirt right now.
Right now,
Thank you.
which match your glasses.
That's right.
Burgundy and lime, that's a great one. Okay. And what else do you like?
Well, I love silver.
Silver.
A lot
You mean
of
like the
silver plants.
lamb's ear color, like
Nice,
that?
yes. Excuse me, silver with purple.
Yeah.
That's a good combination.
Well,
And
that's what lavender is, right? When you think of the lavender plant.
yes,
Isn't because
some of the varieties.
Yeah, because the foliage kind of feels silvery to
Yes.
me, and then the flowers
Flowers.
look kind of like a deep purple or a light lavender. Yeah,
Right. And so I like mixing those both on a singular plant and in the palette amongst all the other plants. So silver with purple, dark blue. The hot colors look lovely together: orange, red, yellow.
So you're actually looking at a space and going, I'm going to make this one burgundy and lime, this 7 square foot area, and then over here I'm doing with hot colors.
Well, I like to stream the colors through so your eye keeps moving through the yard.
I see.
So it's not too heavy in one part.
I mean, can we have all the colors of the rainbow in our landscape, or should we focus on maybe 2 or 3 and have that kind of a rhythm? Does it get
Well,
too?
I think you need to either stick with cool colors or go with a hot palette, so it feels somewhat connected. You can throw in, in pots. It's nice to throw in some extra color that you want to bring in. But I think to keep a uniformity, you should either stay with either a soft, cool tone, or go with real hot colors.
Okay. What about the white garden? I love all
Oh,
white
moonlit
flowers.
garden.
A
Yeah.
moonlit garden.
Yeah, that's lovely.
Because at nighttime or dusk,
It really does.
you can
glow.
see them. Yeah.
It's beautiful. That's a very popular thing to
And
be
so
doing
what-
in
what-
one section, in one
What would the
area.
example of those plants and flowers
Like
be?
what, gardenia, hydrangea,
Oh, the yes.
jasmine.
Icebergs.
Exactly. Your iceberg roses.
Oh, I love the iceberg roses. Yeah.
And then the white datura, angel's trumpet, is lovely.
Oh, sure.
And so then that falls into the fragrant garden as
Sure.
well, which is the jasmine, gardenias. There is a champaka tree, which is very beautiful fragrance. They actually make joy perfume.
That's good
from
with a little
that.
salsa. I love the champaka.
Champaka with yeah. So that's another way to go is with a fragrant garden. I think that's lovely as well. So
Man, I'm so excited. I think there's hope for my lawn.
I think there's more shopping in your future.
I know.
That's the thing.
By the way, I just want you to know, I went out and I bought plants at one of these stores. Kind of pushed it, brought them before I was supposed to. Amy kind of came over and just went like, no, and just took them out and threw them off to the side.
Oh,
Cast
really?
them aside. She said, these are not acceptable. And she actually, that's what I love about her. It's sort of like, I'm not afraid to tell you that this sucks. You're
doesn't
wrong,
work.
and this does not work. It was great.
And why
Well,
were
they
they
weren't very logical.
They were not.
Why? Because they were not for the right. Because he has full sun, and they
He
were
has
more
full
for
sun.
shade.
We had some very English plants, foxgloves and bachelor buttons, delphiniums, very
Prim and proper.
Yes, and then there was succulents and kangaroo
Mediterranean.
paws, Mediterranean. So it was very a little kooky.
A little
so
conflicted.
we had to separate those.
But we could have both of those gardens somewhere in our garden.
Absolutely.
Right, Chris? Was that what you would do? We kinda-
Absolutely, just not in the same.
not in the
12 feet.
same planter. Not in the same. What? Say
Like
what?
Eric did.
What did you say?
Same
Not
12
the same
feet.
12
Same
feet
12
area.
feet.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it kind of is crazy making. It makes you feel like, whoa, there's too much going on.
Amy likes to call it multiple personality disorder.
Well,
the
that's
plants.
fitting. Yeah.
multiple personal planting.
Yeah.
But you can have separate areas, but they just need to be divided.
And then logically, I totally understand your point, because in my world, it's always about people having 5 different flooring surfaces interior wise.
Exactly.
And then the kitchen
It's like a
has,
patchwork quilt.
Exactly, and it becomes distracting. You've got to have some through line in design that keeps your eye and your temperament all sort of mellow and level in the same.
You want to limit the number of different types of plants
Right.
you have. If there's too many different types of plants in a small area, it just looks confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, excellent. Do you guys have a website, by the way?
we do.
What's your website?
AmyRydell.com.
Should have known. And that's Rydell.
Yes, it is.
Cool. Well, thanks for all your tips. I love the idea of the palette. I love the idea of burgundy and,
Same
and
here.
lime.
Yep.
I want
Yeah.
to try that.
And I'm,
should.
by the way, I'm frightened to ever buy my own plants again. She'll come by and she'll go wrong and then throw
Wrong.
them out.
Well, the lesson
No.
there,
No.
the lesson, Amy, is you want us to do our research before you just go to the candy store, right? Because it is. You go there and you go, oh my gosh, I want to buy them. They're so pretty and cute. And
There's so many good books out there.
Yeah.
To just do a 10-minute research will save you hundreds of dollars.
Great.
And you got to love the Sunset Bible, right?
Oh, and they have a new one out
I know they do. And they
with
have an
all
app.
the great photographs.
and then
So,
the app for it that takes you kind of along with when you're shopping.
always good to have.
Cool.
yeah.
Well, thanks, you guys.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Our
Chris. Thank you,
pleasure.
Amy.
Thank you so much.
We have more planning to do now.
I
That's the
know.
thing. This
I
show,
know.
it gets you all pumped
It
up. It
gets you
makes you
hopped
want to
up.
go out there and
That's right. I know. Listen, you're the one that made me get house plants, and now I got like 90 of them.
see. It's better than caffeine.
I should.
Yeah,
Well, I
well,
don't know
maybe
about
not.
that. Maybe not.
Anyway, you're listening to Home Wizards. We have more fun things to talk and share about here to help improve the spaces you call home. Eric Stormer, Cindy Dole. We're back right after this.